Well, when you're ready.
Okay, so welcome to another episode of the Manchester SEO podcast. Really happy today to be joined by Jonathan Guy from Aquarius Digital, fantastic digital agency in the Northwest, and Jonathan's going to talk us about his past and the business and SEO and digital marketing, and it's going to be a really good chat.
Bless you. That's very kind of you. Thank you for inviting me, and thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Welcome. So tell us about Aquarius Digital.
Well, Aquarius was set up as a SEO agency 14 years ago last month.
Wow.
So we're into our 15th year now.
Yeah.
And we actually started off as Aquarius SEO. That was the name to begin with. And we carried on with that for about 2 years, and then I flipped it to Aquarius Digital.
Right.
Because I could see the way things were going to develop, and SEO was going to constrain us just to one particular thing. Ironically, it's that one particular thing that we do most of today, and what we're best at and what we're best known for as well.
Yeah.
So that was the starting point for all of that, I suppose.
It's interesting. That's the question in my head at the moment, is because obviously we're Manchester SEO, and do you stick with that, or do you? It's a funny quandary, isn't it?
Well, it is. I mean, the thing. I mean, people sort of have said ever since I set up, and in fact before that, SEO is dead. All right, and every couple of years you get this new wave of SEO is dead. Something new's arrived, so SEO is dead.
Yeah.
And the reality is, it's nowhere near dead.
No.
It's not even on life support yet. It's still actually doing very, very well. And I think part of the issue with people saying this is A, they're trying to sell something themselves, which isn't SEO, but B, they don't actually understand what it is that we do. They don't understand where the value is added with search engine optimization. And for me, the key thing is, if we have search engines, and we still do, then we need search engine optimization. It's as simple as that. Because if you're not optimized for the search engines, how are they going to find you? And then how are people going to find you? And if you can answer that question without optimizing for search engines, which are the prime vehicle for doing it, not just for that, but for AI as well, and we'll come to that in a bit, I'm sure, then how are you going to get them to recognize your website?
Yeah. It's fascinating. And so how did you get involved into SEO?
Well, the background to this was I actually started in advertising and marketing a long time ago, which you can probably tell with the grey hair. I was still a young man. And I went to work for a company called ITT World's Directories UK Limited.
Right, that's
great long title. What they actually did was they were the sales contractors in most of England, Wales and Scotland and Northern Ireland.
Wow.
For Yellow Pages. So I ended up, as a 24-year-old, out on the road selling advertising in Yellow Pages, which was amazing, because you get to sit in front of businesses and you start to understand how business works.
Yeah.
And then you got to design adverts for them, which went in the book, which then drove inquiries for them. So you'd go back the following year and they'd say, actually, I had some good jobs off that one last year. Yeah. Could I have a bigger one and see if I can get a bit more? And that's kind of where I started in advertising and marketing. Fast forward all the way through, I worked at Yellow Pages for 24 years in total.
Okay.
And 2 years before the end, we were called to a big meeting and we were told, here's the strategy for Yell.com. This is going to be our future. And my friend Chris and I sat in the back of the room and looked at each other and went, oh dear, this is never going to work.
Yeah.
And sadly, it didn't work out. And 2 years later, we found ourselves in a similar room where they said, it's consultation, we've only got half the number of jobs for the people in this room. Who wants to go and who wants to stay? And I said, I'll go. Because in that interim, I'd started to work with my customers that I was working with at the time to understand what SEO was doing for them.
Yeah.
And then what it was, and then how it worked. And so for the next year and a half, I did some consulting, and I worked with a really interesting guy who is probably to this day the best SEO I've ever found. Amazing, talented guy. And then when the project ended, I said, well, do you have anywhere to go now? He said, well, I'm nothing. I've got no new contracts and don't have anything to do. So I said, well, I've got this limited company I've already set up called Aqueous. Do you fancy coming and working with me? So, and that was it. That's how we started. And we pulled in our first customer, which was $7,000 a month, which is brilliant back in those days.
Yeah.
And I thought, this is easy. This is great, land of milk and honey. How hard could it be?
Yeah.
14 years later, lots of grey hairs.
Yeah. I mean, it must have been quite... the internet was a massive disruptor, wasn't it, to the advertising industry?
Well, it was. The internet was seen as an enabler first, but the minute Google got on the scene, I think that's when things changed. And I distinctly remember sitting in my office, I was a marketing manager at that time for Yellow Pages, and searching to get some tyres replaced on the car. And I was sat in Sale, in our offices in Sale in Cheshire, and I put in tyres sale, because that's what I was looking for.
Yeah.
And I got all these things on Yahoo for tyres that were for sale in Deal in Kent and I think Kirkcudbright in Scotland, somewhere like that. And you just think, that's nowhere near. I'm not going to drive the length of the country to get some tyres replaced when I could look out of my window. I can see Quick Fit. I just don't know if they're the cheapest. And then I'd heard about this Google thing, so I thought, I'll give it a try. I'll try Google and see what happens. A completely different experience.
Yeah.
First of all, there was no portal with the weather and the news and all the other stuff on it. It was just, what do you want? Type in the plain page, what do you want, what you're looking for. I'm looking for tyres in Sale. Bang, got it straight away, first time, and that was it. Never looked back. And I kind of realised then that things had changed and were going to continue to change. And so whilst the internet was a disruptor, I don't think people saw it as much of a disruptor as it actually ended up being. And Yellow Pages, bless them, they were great. They had a proposition which was, we are the bridge between buyers and sellers. And that's great. But then when they had Yell.com piggybacking on Google, they became the bridge between buyer and sellers. And that's one bridge too many. And I could see that from some distance out. And I figured out very quickly that one of those bridges had to go, and it wasn't going to be Google. And sure enough, Yellow Pages started to decline from there. And the print revenues dried up to the point where they stopped printing the books a few years after I left. So it was a shame, really, because it was a brilliant business to work in. Taught me everything and gave me massive life experiences and some great friendships still to this day. So, really enjoyed it. But it was a good, thorough grounding in advertising, marketing, and eventually in the internet and the power of what can be achieved.
Yeah. It's interesting when you talk about the bridge between something and how the internet became more of a convenient thing to use to find out what you needed than having to go and look in a book and then adding more complexity to it didn't work. And there's parallels now, isn't there, with AI and instead of having to think about what the exact term that you're trying to find, you can then go, okay, well, you can just talk it through with
you could kind of have a chat. So I was on the way in, I was talking to one of our team, and they were saying that the problem they have with things like ChatGPT is they're unsure of what prompt is needed in the first place.
Okay.
So you need to understand the right question, otherwise the answer you get isn't going to be the one that answers the question you really want answered, if that makes sense. And for them, the difficulty is actually getting the right prompt. And she said to me, she said, it's funny, she said, loads of my friends are popping up on LinkedIn as they're all now prompt engineers. Like, oh, really? Okay. Yes, okay. I think it's just knowing the questions to ask, isn't it?
It is. It's quite funny. I can guarantee those prompt engineers have been outreach specialists, and they've been crypto specialists as well, and something else before that. It's they kind of move from one to another, don't they?
Correct. And don't forget that at the moment, if you look on LinkedIn, everyone's got their AI tool or this amazing 10x hack that's going to make you rich instantly, and it's back to the old snake oil salesman. I mean, one of the guys I follow actually asked a great question, which is, how many people do you know, if they found a way to make multi-millions overnight online, would share it with you? That's a really good question.
You just do it and then retire.
You're correct. If you made enough money, then you'd sell it.
Yeah.
But clearly, these guys haven't, so they're bluffing, or should I say they're expanding the narrative to fit what they'd like it to be.
It's funny that because we, for a long time, had used FAQs as a tool for increasing rankings, and Google kind of tells you what people are searching for around the topic because it gives you that thing. Yeah, well, people also search for this.
Yeah.
And the questions, and if that's kind of shows the search intent for what you're trying to do, and then moving forward to like AI search results and overviews, that's actually become really useful. And so all our clients that we did all that work for with in terms of FAQs is now appearing a lot on AI search. It's just from all the work we did a few years ago.
Yeah, and the problem that a lot of people have now is that the information they have on their website is being used and is answering the question without people ever having come to their website. So they're missing out the opportunity to show their brand, to show their knowledge base, to actually show that they offer other services or other things which might be of use to the person who's searching for that. And so they're missing inquiries. And we're seeing a real drop-off in organic traffic. So volumes of impressions are going up for lots of companies, but clicks are going down. And that's quite a worrying thing if you're in business. So practical example, company we're working with at the moment, and this is about how you have to try and reframe and understand what search engine optimization is all about. From the start of this year, their organic traffic is down 50%. Their inquiries are down 30%. So you can imagine they're panicking because they've got a whole team of customer service agents waiting to take calls, and they've got a whole team of engineers waiting to go out and do surveys. At least 20% of each of those capacities are now hanging around, twiddling their thumbs. Ironically, however, when I dug deeper with them, I found that the conversion rate on the 30% that they are getting, or those 30% fewer inquiries that they are getting, has gone from 28% conversion to 48% conversion. In other words, they've doubled their conversion rate overnight. And to paraphrase the gentleman I was talking to, it looks like the tire kickers have gone. Now, that's because the silly questions, which was always, ask us, no questions too daft. That's being answered by the AI overview now, so they don't need to ask that question. So the people who are coming to them are actually people who do need their services. And to get that conversion rate, by the way, has been roughly 25, 28, never higher than 30% for the last 20 years. And it's now almost up to 50%, which is a major, major thing for them. So what we've done is we've reframed the problem and say this isn't a search problem. And it's nothing to do with search engine optimization. This is now a marketing problem. And the marketing, and this is hence the digital marketing piece, where else are your customers likely to be online? And where would you like them to see you? Because Google is now demonstrating to you, if you take away all the wasted stuff, this is the level of inquiries I can reasonably expect to receive from Google on an ongoing basis. There's no point in chasing more because you're not going to get more, because that seems to be de facto the market you've now got. But there are other customers in other places that you're not getting. You're not getting anyone off social media, for example. You're not getting anyone off TV. You're doing nothing in the press, and we need to remedy that. So there's a whole load of other avenues now which they're looking at to say, okay, so instead of saying, let's panic and let's get rid of the staff that aren't being utilised, let's do it the other way around and say, if we spend a bit more on marketing in those other areas, could we keep those guys busy? And if we can keep those guys busy, we've actually not only increased our productivity, but we've increased our profitability as well, because we've actually managed to get a better conversion rate over the piece. So the turnover should go up and the profitability should go up as well. So we've reframed the issue for them into a marketing issue, and SEO is one part of it now. And previously it was 85% of what they were doing.
Yeah, we had Ben Barker in, who's a fairly senior SEO guy. He's been around for more than a decade and head of growth, online growth, a number of companies. And he says, I use that term these days because it's not just about Google anymore. No. You have to be intelligent, looking at other aspects and how that works and how that improves the conversion rate. And often we always talk about vanity metrics. And like, the idea of just saying, no, traffic's up, you have to go a bit deeper these days, and the communication has to tell the story of what's happening. And half the time is like, you look at the results and you're a bit confused because, like you say, the impressions have doubled, but traffic stayed the same or just a little bit more or has gone down a little bit, and you're like, okay, so why is that? Because that makes no sense.
Correct.
And it's really... I've had some really interesting chats with clients from it because it's inspired a conversation about, okay, well, what's happening? How do we adapt to?
And that's the key thing. And some customers we're working with are really happy to engage and really interested in, well, what changes are going on? How do we adapt? And what more can you do to help us? And there's a couple of them who've just gone into panic mode. And we suspect there are other factors driving that rather than just the one piece, which is the organic traffic. But they're not really interested in what they think we could do to help them out of the situation. They're flailing around looking for an answer, and whoever's walking through the door promising them the earth is getting a look in at the moment because they're desperate and they're looking for solutions. Whereas if only they'd stop for a moment, take a breath, and turn around and look at all the suppliers they've got and say, guys, help us come up with a solution. We could help. I spend most of my weeks now talking to customers saying, we can help. You just need to listen for a moment and help us understand where your pain point is. So if you give us your pain point, the solution we come up with might be something you don't expect.
Yeah.
Because you might think we don't do this, but we do, and we can, and we will.
Interesting. So going back before Icarus started, you were Yellow Pages was a huge business. I've met many people who've worked there over the years in sales functions, so they're really impressive people. I've not met one where I thought, actually, you don't know what you're talking about and you're a bit of an idiot. A lot of them have, I met one guy at a fundraising event at the Oval Cricket Ground, and he had a multinational digital company. And he was a sales guy at Yellow Pages and took me through all that, and it's amazing. Were they very good at training people and developing people?
Yeah, extraordinarily good. Yeah. The reason I ended up with them was because in the previous firm I'd been with, straight out of university, my manager left. And when he left, he said, if you want to get on in sales, and by the way, I think you've got potential, you should go and work for a firm like ITT World Directories. Right. Because they're the best sales trainers around. Yeah. And I'd never heard of them. I'd never even thought about it. But 6 months later, an advert appeared in the Match 3 Evening News, and it offered 50% more salary than I was on at that time. So
why not?
Who wouldn't? You know. So I just went, why not? Let's go for it. So I did, and 3 interviews on a Wednesday morning, from 9 o'clock till 12:30. Yeah, and I shook hands with a guy called Ted Wood, who said, "You've got a job, son. You start on the 1st of April." I said, "Do you mind if I get that in writing before I resign?" Yeah. 1st of April, right? But it turned out to be the best move I ever made, and there were so many lessons that I got there. So there was the sales training, which was extraordinary. Yeah. And at one point, I ended up doing some of that myself because I went into management and training and so on. But I think what I learned most was from the people I was working with, their attitudes, their approach, their belief, and the customers I was working with, who once they realised that they could share things with me, then were very, very happy to open up about how their P&L worked, why their balance sheet was important to them, how their sales flow worked, all those kind of things which you really want a customer to give you, so you can help them to improve what they're doing. And on top of the basic sales training that they gave, if you ever moved into any other roles, Yellow Pages provided funds for you to do external courses. And I went on some amazing courses and got some really decent qualifications whilst I was there. In fact, one of them, which I still hold today, was I became a chartered marketer in 2000. So 25 years as a chartered marketer now, which was incredible. Which reminds me, I need to fill in this year's CPD sometime this month. But it was great. It was great for sales training. It was great for personal development. But the attitudes of the people who were working there were wonderful. When I first started, I never really properly sold before, and I never sold advertising. And I was trying to sell stuff, but I had a domestic mindset in a commercial market. So I thought it was a lot of money, whereas a business owner would say, "Oh, I'm a drop in the ocean, son."
Sure.
And one of the guys took me to one side one day in the office, probably about 6 weeks into my business career, and he put his arm around my shoulder and he said, "The problem you've got, son, is you don't believe in what you're selling."
Right.
And I tried to bluff and bluff. So, no, listen to me. You don't believe in what you're selling. So you need to go and lock yourself in a room with this big yellow book. And he shoved the book in my hands. He said, "Don't come out until you absolutely believe that that is the best thing that can happen to a business." And the very next day I went out and I saw a company and I asked them why they were in Yellow Pages. The first time I'd done it. To that point I'd been too frightened to ask them. So why do you advertise here? And he was honest. He opened up. He said, honestly, I get most of my business out of Yellow Pages. I'd be lost without it. He said, "How much do you turn over?" It's about £250,000.
Right.
Well, just you? So I've got 2 lads. And you get everything from Yellow Pages, absolutely everything. I don't need to advertise anywhere else. Wow. And this guy was in a really nice house, and I was sat in his front room. He had a very, very nice car on the drive. He'd just come back from a world cruise, and I was thinking, am I missing something here? But what it did, it cemented in my mind that product absolutely worked for business, absolutely drove for him. And for most of the other guys I then went to see over the next 20 odd years of my career, it drove for them a lifestyle. It drove for them earnings. It drove for them the things that they worked for in life. And that made me really believe that, actually this thing is very powerful. You've just got to get it right. And that's the trick, is getting the advertising right. And that's when I started looking at the consumer and user behaviour side of it, which to this day, as you know, with SEO is great. You can optimise things to in an inch of their life, technically. But you've still got to engage with a human being at the other side of it. And you want them to go, actually, yes, I want to buy from these people.
So when you found SEO, like the shining light out of the in the distance, what was it that attracted you to SEO?
Most of the customers I've been working with at that point have been saying to me, "I'm cutting back my print spend this year, son, because I'm spending more on SEO."
Right.
That was it. And I had to find out why. And what it did was it sort of made me look in detail in quite some depth as to what search engine optimization was all about. And then working with the guy that I started the firm with, he realised I didn't know enough. So he made me build a website from scratch and then take it apart again. And then he made me write analytical reports on various bits of it. And he put me through an SEO school very quickly. Within 6 months, he said to me, "Yeah, you're a good senior SEO now. You can do this." He said, "You understand the way this is working." And by the end of 2012, so bear in mind this is 2011, by the end of 2012, I'd codified the 3 rules that we talked about before that I put into the book, which stand to this day. Because one of the biggest things I found and bear in mind this is back in 2011 when we started, was that most SEO firms were cheating. Remember those good old days when you could spend 500 quid and get 40,000 links from the Far East, and it shoved you up to the top of Google. We started working with a local firm in Warrington, which was brilliant. The guy came through the door and said, listen, I've been number one for ages, but we've just dropped off and I don't know why. And I had a look at his backlink profile. And I said to him, so whereabouts do you operate? He said, Warrington. Bit in Manchester, bit in Liverpool, occasionally in St Helens, but it's really just Warrington. Right, okay, but you've got 250,000 links pointing to your website. And pretty much all of them are for Russia, China, Singapore, and various places out there. Said, if you think of it this way, if a link to your site is a vote of confidence in your business and your services, how do all those people out in the Far East know about you?
Right.
He said, I've no ideas. I used to just give my mate a couple hundred quid a month and he'd get me to the top of Google, and that was it. It was just buying links. And it was frightening to see the sort of damage that it did. And of course, within 6 months of starting the firm, Google released the Penguin update. And for those of you who've not been in the SEO field for a few years, that penalised spammy backlinks.
Yeah.
And then the following year, they introduced the Panda update, which is the one that penalised poor content. So all of a sudden, you've got the two biggest things, which were people creating rubbish content and spammy links and shoving it to the top of Google. That was pretty much gone. So that was the very start of the career here. But it was an opportunity because we had firms coming to us saying, I think I've been penalised by Google because I've suddenly dropped off of search. And we were able to help them recover. And what we said at the start was we weren't going to go down that route. We were going to do everything in a white hat basis, i.e. following Google's webmaster guidelines, because that's the only long-term sure way of doing this. And indeed, one of the firms that joined us in 2014 is still with us today because we've done the right thing by them all that time.
People who say to me, are you worried about the updates that Google bring all the time? And well, naturally they tend to help us because we work in a way that isn't spammy, is good quality, and we tend to get rewarded for that rather than penalised. And so I welcome every single update because it gives us a lift.
Well, the thing is, you never know what those updates are going to do for your customers, and there are some customers whose websites there's nothing wrong with them at all. And we followed all the right rules, and they still get hit, they still go down. And you have to wait till the next update, and then suddenly they come back out of it, and you've changed nothing. You've literally changed nothing, but Google's updates aren't always as benign as they'd like you to believe. And when you say, well, what can we do about it? The answer is always the same. Nothing, just keep doing the things that we say you should be doing. Problem is, even when you are doing the things that they say you should be doing, and it goes wrong, it still looks bad on you. And so when people want guarantees from search engine optimization companies, the answer is always the same. No way. How can we guarantee something to you when we're trying to wrestle with a third party here who will change twice a day? I mean, it's like trying to herd cats in a darkened room with your eyes closed in fog. You just can't do it. There's no way. What we do know is the basic principles are the same, which is you are trying to engage with real human beings out here. So let's make sure whatever's on your website is addressing the needs of the human beings. If you can do that, behind the scenes, technically, we'll make sure it lines up with the way Google says it should be lined up. Your job is to make sure that these human beings that you're dealing with, bear in mind, they're your customers, Mr. Customer, so you need to tell me what they're looking for. We'll help you, we'll shape this for you, but you need to tell us what they're looking for, because if you can appeal to them directly, then they'll buy from you, irrespective.
So the book you mentioned, and we should probably point it out, is Search Never Sleeps from Jonathan Guy.
Yes, it's available on Amazon, so just jump on and get yourself a copy. It's available as a hardback, a paperback, and indeed as an ebook as well. So it doesn't cost a fortune. You'd be delighted to hear. But
a quick look through, it's something that I'll definitely read because
The key thing with the book was it was designed for people who aren't SEO specialists like you and I, because me trying to teach you some of this stuff is like teaching grandma to suck eggs. This is aimed at any business owner who struggles with the idea that they've been told they have to have a website, but they've no ideas how it works, why it works, what they could do to make it work better. They don't know what they can do themselves just to improve the little bits that they can improve without actually paying anyone like you or me to do it for them. So this is really a sort of step-by-step guide, and it's in absolute plain English. There's no tech jargon in there. And this was deliberate on my part. In fact, we engaged with a lovely editor called Sian. Sian's brilliant. She knew nothing about SEO at all. And so I type up chapters of stuff and send it to her, and she'd send stuff back with a big red pen amend on it saying, I don't understand what this means. Can you rewrite it in English? And so I had to go back and write and rewrite and rewrite. And then eventually I got it to a point where she said, now I understand what you're trying to say there. That now makes sense. That can go in the book. So we had somebody who knew nothing about the subject editing the whole way through. That was enormously valuable because it made sure the language was clean, concise, and it tells a story. That's the thing. And for anyone who's non-technical, and I've just presented one of my books to a friend of mine today who actually won it in a raffle.
Lucky then.
It was a prize, and I said to him, look, you're not into this tech stuff, so chapters 1, 2 and 7, that's all you need to read. And I said, if you're really interested and you want to understand any of the other bits, 3 to 6 has got all the stuff you'll need. If you've got a website, 3 to 6 is perfect for you. Otherwise, 1, 2 and 7, and if you spend more than an hour reading those 3, I'll be surprised. So yeah, put your feet up, have a cup of tea, and read it, and you'll get an insight into things like, well, how does it work on a basic level, and where did it come from, and well, where's the future going? Because there's a future bit at the back there, which of course is bound to be wrong now because it's 2 years since I wrote that. So I'm sure some of those predictions are already going wrong.
Yeah, it's hard to predict, isn't it?
It's almost impossible.
It's a dangerous game, and I think when you said that you were made to build a website from scratch and then analyze it, it's such an important task. Within my business, even if they're a copywriter, they'll do that. We'll get them onto WordPress, a simple thing, build it, and then we go, okay, well, this is now the SEO training. And these are the principles, because this is important to understand with everything that we do within the business, and content is key to that. You get a real understanding then of playing about and seeing what works and what doesn't. And I find people that know nothing about it and they get into it, when they start doing it, they go, this is a bit of a drug. This is well, it
is, because you're actually controlling something, and then if you can actually have a measurable output from that, and you can see the change, you can see that what you've done has made such a difference. That's really powerful. That really starts to engage with people. I'm quite enthusiastic about that.
Yeah, it's fascinating. And so, what spurred you? I think you probably kind of answered this, to actually, cause it's a lot of effort to write a book. And it takes a long time. And what kind of why?
Well, the original start point was marketing director Christian, who I'll give a nod to. It's actually his birthday today. Would you believe?
Say happy birthday, Chris.
Happy birthday, Christian. you got a nod there. He said to me, because I was regularly writing stuff for the website, so I'd knock out 750,000 word articles, sometimes longer, on topics of SEO, bits of SEO, and he would then publish those on our company website. And he said to me, he said, look, you mentioned your 3 rules of Google to me the other day. We were in conversation. I said, yeah. He said, could you write me a few words for the website about that? I went, yeah, of course I can. Yeah, no problems. So just give me a basic outline, sort of explain what it is and how it works. No issues at all. So I sat down and I rattled it off and I handed it to him. So there you go. There it is. And he went away and he read it and he came back and said, yeah, thanks for that. He said, it's a little bit long. It's 3,500 words. He said, is there any way you could maybe extend that a bit more? Maybe we'll get a white paper out of it or a download or something.
Yeah.
And then it turned into a book. That was the point when I sort of was introduced to the editor who said, no, we need to have a framework. We need to start. Right, where are you going with this? Because how will you know when you've finished?
Yeah.
Right, okay, so what do you need to include within it? Oh, gosh. So we did a brainstorming session, put it all down. Had a nice little mind map of where we needed to go with it, and on that basis it was month in, month out, I had to write something and get it done, and we did. And over the course of almost 2 years we managed to box everything off and get it written, including some rewrites. And as I think I said to you before we even started the podcast, that went to press effectively on the end of January 2023. Beginning of February 23, ChatGPT was launched, which immediately changed the game, because of course you had all the old naysayers out again saying, oh, SEO is dead.
Yeah.
So I had to rewrite the preface just before we hit the publish button on it.
Right.
Just to say, listen, it's arrived. People will be telling you SEO is dead. It's not. So don't believe a word of it. And here we are 2 years on, and it's still not dead. And this is, I think, the big topic for us today as SEOs, is explain to people how AI can't work without search engine optimization.
Yeah.
Most people don't understand that. So yeah, I think that's the next big topic for us.
Yeah. So the 3 simple rules.
3 simple rules of Google. Rule number 1, Google's just a machine.
Yeah.
That's it. Simple as that. Never forget you're just dealing with a machine. Same with the AI, same, a whole range of things like that. They're just machines. So they're there to do a job, and you haven't designed them, you haven't made them for that job, but the job that they're doing is a very precise job. So Google's only job, by the way, is to get the right answer to any question that you, me, or everybody else asks it in less than half a second. That's it. That's all they're trying to do. And when you realise that, you think, how can I make their life easier?
Wow.
That then gets you to rule 2. Rule 2 is nothing beats great content.
Wow.
Content is the one thing that Google consumes on a daily basis. It's what we all consume. So by giving Google great content, you're giving it an excuse to show what you've done as part of its search results, or now as part of the AI overview as well. And that can only really happen if you're precise with what you're saying, which is rule 3, which is 1 page, 1 keyword or phrase. And that very much came from the old Yellow Pages days, because I used to go and see a whole range of businesses. Favourite was sitting in a builder's house, trying to sort an advert out for them. And they already have an advert in Yellow Pages, a little quarter column, and it says, we do everything. And then it'll list building, plumbing, roofing, plastering. And you'd have conversations with them about all of those things, and they'd say, yeah, I'd love a bit more roofing work this year. Brilliant, right. And I'd go away and I'd come back with 2 adverts, one for builders and one for roofing. And they said, that looks really good, son. How much does it cost? And when I told them, they go, sharpie and take a breath, as you normally get. And they say, yeah, but tell you what, can you just put them 2 together again? I'll just have the one advert, put everything in there. And the arguments really were, well, listen, if someone wants a builder, they're going to look into builders. And they'll say, I do roofing. Along came Google, and what they did was very often, because people were charging by the page to build the early websites, they'd say, right, well, I'll just have them 3 pages then, the contact us, the about us, and then, and this page about my services, and they'd list everything on 1 page. Well, Google would come along, crawl that, and say, well, what do you do? What should I rank you for? You say you do building, roofing, plumbing, plastering, drywalling. Where do you want me to show you in search? And Google would then choose one that it thought was the primary one, which is normally building, and it would exclude them from all the others. So we'd come along and say, well, why don't we just build another page for roofing. If we just build you a page for roofing as well as the one for building, then Google will start ranking you for roofing inquiries, and then we'll build one for plastering, and then we'll build one for drywalling or whatever, and so on and so forth. And hence we get to modern websites where you've got a very focused page for each particular area of trades that you do. And we have these conversations with tradesmen about how they break their websites down and how to be focused on each page. So yeah, one page, one keyword or phrase, and don't try mixing them up. It's a bit like Ghostbusters. You don't want to cross the streams.
Yeah. I mean, we have that problem with a conversation with web designers that use us for SEO, and they'll have created a website, and it'll be a standard 5-page thing, and they'll have one page for services, and everything on the one service page. And we've already gone through this, that isn't acceptable for a website, because, like you say, which one do you rank for? Especially if you're a builder and you've got 15 services that you do that go into what your the whole business. And he says, yeah, but they opted for the 5-page option. I'm like, well, really, you should change that, because if you want them to do well and speak about you now, you should have the services are the most important pages on the whole thing, because you want people to find you for the service, not for your name, because they don't know your name.
Correct. Yeah, if they knew your name, they wouldn't need to find your website.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's so
Well, it is, but it's the way the industry's gone, which is you're selling a product. You're not actually selling them a service then. So our product is a 5-page website. Well, then you have to pay for a 15-pager. I'll have the 5-pager then. And it's just a decision between the two, without understanding what the difference is or what difference it could make to your overall success online. So it's an issue, and people are still selling those solutions, which aren't solutions at all. You're just buying a product, but you're buying the wrong product. So if someone tries to sell you that, it's hard, but say no. I actually put a chapter in here about how to work with your developer and build your own website. You don't have to build it. If you're commissioning someone to build a website, there's a checklist in there of the things that you need to know. Chief among them is listen to what your developer tells you, because they're the ones who've got experience in building these things, and they're pretty good, most of the guys we know. They will try and guide you to the right solution. Things like pick the phone up and speak to them on a weekly basis. I know they're sat behind a computer tapping away, but if you touch base with them, you'll get a lot more done a lot quicker, because they'll flag you of stuff that's coming up that you need to be aware of that might hold the project up. Small items like, if you said you'll write the content for them, write the content for them and deliver them. We both know developers, and every developer I've ever met has got projects they still haven't finished because the customer hasn't provided the content. 2 years on, customer hasn't provided the content. Well, we get right that, we write the content for them. Let them change it afterwards, but if you are promising your developer you'll write the content, bear in mind these guys don't know how to write content. They're developers, right? They don't know how to write content. So you're as good at doing it because you know your business as they would be. If you're better, then supply them with the content. And one of the final rules which I insist upon is pay them. So many developers have stories about customers just not paying them. Agree stage payments. That encourages them to work to get it done and then to finish it as well. And it encourages you as well, because they're going to chase you as much as you're going to chase them. Well, let's get the project done. Let's do it in 12 weeks or 8 weeks or however long it takes. Let's just get it done. Let's not let it drag on, because way too many of these projects go on for years. And it's content that's the big hold-up. So
always, isn't it, really? And so moving on from that, you mentioned just then the conversation about AI in the future. I've asked this many times, and we've all probably got different answers on different days, because you hear of another use for it or another tool. What's your thoughts on AI in the industry?
My thoughts on AI are pretty much along the lines that it's going to conform to Moore's law at this moment in time.
Right.
Moore's law essentially was about semiconductor capacity, capability,
Okay.
which would double in capacity and then halve in price every 2 years, something like that.
Right.
And it's continued on that trajectory. So we've now got semiconductors which are ultra powerful but cheaper than some of the original ones. AI is going along the same route, which is the capacity is getting ridiculous. The abilities that it has are going exponential. An expert I was listening to last week was saying that AI that can pass a Turing test, i.e. you believe it's human, is likely to arrive sometime before the end of 2026. That's pretty frightening. They've now got AIs teaching AIs how to improve themselves.
Yeah.
Which means the only restriction is speed of connection.
Yeah.
It is speeding up so much, and it's changing everything we do. Now, not all of it's helpful. This morning I saw one of Meta's AI promotion pieces underneath a post I put out. And it asks several questions. And I thought, oh, interesting. It's asked a very interesting question about my post. I'll click on that because I know the answer to that one. Let's see what it comes up with. And the answer was wrong by some order of magnitude. That's because it doesn't know. So, and it's because it can't find it online. And it can't find it online because it's not looking in the right places. So when you sort of have to understand about AI is that there are lots of different AIs out there, thousands of different AIs. The ones we're familiar with are things like Google's Gemini, which you get at the top of the search results now, whether you like it or not. And some people don't like it. It really annoys them because it's now inserting itself in places it doesn't really need to be. You've got ChatGPT, which most people know about. What they don't realise is that ChatGPT only uses Bing to get its results. So unless you've optimised for Google and for Bing, then you're not going to be seen on ChatGPT. Similarly, Google is only using Google's own product. It's only using Gemini and it's using Google search results. So you've got silos appearing with these AI tools. Perplexity uses Bing. Grok uses social media, X as you might expect, but then it goes out to all the other search engines. And then depending on the questions you ask, AIs are often asking other AI engines for the answers. So you don't know exactly where it's got that stuff from. So one of my staff members has got into the habit now of saying, well, where did you get that answer from? As the next prompt to anything it gets back from ChatGPT or out of Gemini. Simply because they need to understand where they've sourced it. So it might not be right.
And you could then go, what does this web page need to do to be found for that question on your
which we've already done. Which we've already done. And then you can say to it, you can take the text from a page, you can drop it into one of those tools and say, rewrite this text in such a way that it appeals to end users, but is concise enough and parsed correctly for large language models to use it as well.
Right.
And it will output it. But you have to be clear with the prompt. You have to say, you cannot introduce any material from other websites other than this particular website. And specifically, I've got this information from this page. So you have to restrict it. Otherwise, it's going to bring in other people's material to answer your question, which defeats the whole purpose of having a page written originally by the human copywriter.
And search engines are very good at identifying just AI content.
Yeah.
And I know this because I did a test on our site and we've got 5 AI generated pages on blog pages. And I was looking through Search Console and they'd all been crawled but not indexed.
Yeah. Exactly.
And I found that fascinating that it was so accurate that the ones that were AI generated weren't indexed and the ones that were human generated were.
Yeah.
And that's fascinating to me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the day after ChatGPT was out, then there was a guy announcing he created an app which would tell you if it had been generated by ChatGPT. So, and there's enough content checkers out there. But it did disrupt the industry. I mean, a very good friend of mine had a content agency which was employed 104 people, turned over £3.5 million.
Wow.
And that was in February of 23. By March, the orders started drying up. By April, they'd gone.
Wow.
By the time he realised that he needed to get rid of the staff, he was then told that the cost of getting rid of them was more money than he actually had, because all his orders had dried up. And the people who'd been ordering from him had all gone, well, I'm going to go and get stuff from ChatGPT instead because it's free. And they eventually, his business went, but eventually all of their businesses went as well, because they just loaded their websites with loads of content which was completely useless. And Google understood that it was just guff produced by search engines.
I saw a social media post from a friend's business yesterday, and I liked it because it's a friend, so try and help him.
Yeah.
But I didn't read the post because I saw lots of green ticks and I saw lots of emojis and all this kind of stuff. Not sure that means emojis. And so I have no idea what was on that post. But there's like an innate human recognition of that, it's AI. And then, so you don't read it as well. And I found that with testing social media posts, that the most engaged ones are the ones that are the rubbish ones I've written that don't look quite as good.
Yeah. Often the ones that engage are the ones that show something human about you.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm tempted to put stuff on social media regularly, but I don't. I rarely post on social media.
Yeah.
If you ever see something of mine on LinkedIn, it's probably worth reading.
Yeah.
Because it's something I've thought long and hard about. And it's now got to the point where it's frustrated me to the point I'll have to make a statement, a public statement about it.
Yeah.
Other than that, I rarely use social media to make my thoughts known. I prefer to write my own blog. Bear in mind that if I write something on our blog and I publish it on our website, that's my content. I've written that, I own that. The minute I put it on Facebook or LinkedIn, it's theirs.
Yeah.
It's not mine. It's not doing me any favours, it's doing them a favour. And I've always had an issue with that. So we've become free copywriters for those platforms to grow bigger, to sell advertising on the backs of the work we've done.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel right. I don't get paid for that.
No. It's interesting.
It's a contrarian view.
Yeah.
And after spending many, many years in the business, I'm of the view that content creators need to be paid. There's no way you should do it for free.
Yeah. I was talking to someone the other day and they were saying how, maybe it was a podcast I was listening to, I take in so much noise that it's tricky to work out where it's coming from. But they were talking about there's a place now where you can, instead of you using something for free, like Facebook or other social media areas, where they control the data that goes on there, you can actually control it and sell it to people to be able to use it. And then that becomes really quite valuable. And then you think, okay, well, the better that is, the more we can get for it.
Absolutely. It's a bit like asking an artist to paint a picture and saying, and now you've got to give it away to charity. Yeah. Everyone will love it. Everyone thinks it's brilliant, but you're not going to make any money out of it. Yeah. And that's fine if you're altruistic and you can afford to do that. But if you're trying to put bread on the table, you know, you need to get paid.
Yeah.
You actually need to get paid for what you do. And the way the internet has developed, it sort of almost works against people who want to be creative. The only way you can be creative now is, so for social media, for example, you've got influencers, you've got TikTok creators, but they're only paid on the back of the stuff they do. TikTok's slightly better, I suppose. In fact, they do get the revenues for it. But YouTube, you know, you can produce tens of thousands of hours of content for YouTube, but it's dependent on the advertising that they sell on the back of it. So they're still making the bulk of the money out of it. You're not. It's like Spotify, you know. The amount of money artists get from Spotify is tiny. It's had X many million streams. It's worth nothing.
We had a musician client. He asked me to help him sell more of his music online. So it's his personal music. It was really interesting to understand what goes on. We got it so organically. He'd sold 25,000, or he'd had 25,000 streams of his new release, which was quite good compared to the others that he'd had. And they flagged it as the sources coming from unnatural means, so maybe we'd paid to be on a playlist somewhere or something like that, which happens, but we hadn't. And then there's no way of having a conversation with them to prove that it's not that, and that when you go to Apple Music, it's 50% royalties, so they do things a lot. As much as I dislike Apple from its for other reasons, let's not go into this. I'm only mentioning names. The music royalties were really fair, I felt, and so yeah, there's a couple of artists getting paid an awful lot from Spotify, and others that are trying to do it genuinely get nothing. No,
exactly. The controllers with the platforms. It used to be with the record labels, but now it's with the platforms, and that doesn't help young upcoming musicians. It just doesn't help them at all. There's no easy way to break through that. But this is back to nothing beats great content. Rule 2: what you've got to do is own that content.
Yeah,
it's yours. Distribution channels are another matter entirely. You may need to be on some of those. Make sure you own your content. Make sure you control it. Because otherwise you're just simply giving away all your hard work for somebody else to get the benefit, and that doesn't feel like a good business model to me.
No. Interesting. So where do you see personal thoughts in terms of the future? Where do you see it going?
That's an interesting question. You mean search engine optimization in the future?
Yeah.
Yeah, because the future, that's a much bigger question, right? Yeah, I probably won't see much of it, or most of it, should I say. Yeah. I think my kids will see more than I will. Yeah. But SEO is an interesting one. It didn't exist when I was growing up. SEO didn't exist. It may not need to exist before I shuffle off this mortal coil. So there'll be a finite life for the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's predicated on the fact that we have search engines at the moment, and they are the solution. But it's back to questions. I ask odd questions of people all the time. You'll appreciate this.
Yeah.
We get app developers talking to us, and they're really enthusiastic about developing apps, which is great, And if we find a customer who needs them, I know who to introduce them to. But my question normally to people is, how many apps do you have on your phone? Do you know? And you don't.
Quite a lot. Probably,
yeah, I don't. How many do you use on a daily basis? Fraction of what you've got on your phone.
2 or 3.
How many more apps do you think you need? And why is an app the solution? Why whenever if I book something now, or I try and do something online, why am I being pushed into downloading an app? Why when I get a parcel delivered, are they insistent that I have to download their app to track my parcel? That doesn't feel right. That, I think, is going to have to go. Same with websites. What are websites? They're repositories of information, right? Well, Google's already proven, and there's a chapter in the book about it, that it doesn't need a website. I think one of the airline companies, Google, can actually take their inventory and show it in search, live in search, and Google renders the page. You can check, book, and check out and pay all through Google with never leaving Google. You don't have to go away from Google's platform. And Google doesn't have the problem about how to show your website properly in search because, well, your website isn't shown in search. So you don't have to worry about optimizing it for search. So if you've got data and you've got a mechanism for showing it to people, all you need is a connector between the two, which currently we call an API. So if we've got all that data that's available and it's configured in the form of information, what's been missing is the intelligence bit. Well, now we've got AI, which is the artificial intelligence, which is, it looks like it's intelligence, but at the moment it's not that good. But it is good enough to take the data and the information and present it in such a way that it could show it to people like Google or whoever else, so that they could show it and render it to end users in a way that's so friendly and perfectly optimized, not just for the search engines themselves, but for each individual user. I mean, multi-different renders for the same page, depending on your user preferences. That's already here. And I'm seeing that already. They can show you what you want to see straight in front without ever leaving their platform or going to a website. That's going to happen. And Sundar Pichai, who runs Google, many years ago, he would tell people that what he wanted is the Star Trek badge. He wanted to be able to just ask the computer to tell him anything.
Right.
And if you've seen Star Trek, where they have the big computer up on the screen, and, you know, Picard says, computer, how many light years to Alpha Centauri? It doesn't say, I know the answer to that, but before I show you that, here's some adverts from people who want to sell you things when you get to Alpha Centauri. And by the way, here's some extra facts you might not know about Alpha Centauri. Had you thought about asking all these questions? Doesn't do any of that. It just gives them the answer. That's more like where we need to go. Because as human beings, we are naturally curious.
Yeah.
We've got this innate curiosity in ourselves. And we like investigating stuff. We like understanding and learning. That's part of how we develop as a species. And if you've got something that helps us with that creativity, with the ability to get that knowledge and put it to better use, that's where these tools, and they are tools, they are just machines, that's where these should come in handy. That's where these should actually help us develop, both personally and collectively as a unit, if you like, as a community, as a planet. You know, if you think back to Tim Berners-Lee's original idea, you know, his book Weaving the Webs, you know, spells it out quite nicely. Originally, he had this idea: what if we could just connect the computers together around the world, all the researchers working on a particular problem, then you could share ideas as quickly as you could, almost in real time. We could solve the world's problems then, couldn't we? Fast forward to today, you know, quarter of a century on, and we haven't got anywhere close to that. In fact, we're more divided now than we are connected. The fact the more connected we've become, the more divided we've become.
Yeah.
So instead of solving the world's problems, we've created a whole load of new ones, which is a real shame. But the potential's still there. The original dream of getting all the people in the world to work together, brilliant idea. We could make the planet a brilliant place to be with none of the ongoing issues that we already know we have. The innovation could thrive out there. We could all have plenty. But will it happen? Probably not in my lifetime, I don't think. But you asked about the future. That's where I think search is going. It's true. It's where I think search is going. It is actually in there. That the whole idea behind this is to say, this is the kind of direction of travel. We need to understand that anything that's a blocker today, like having to carry a mobile phone and having to have an app, that's a bit of a blocker. Why do we need that? They didn't have that in Star Trek, did they?
No.
They had the handheld devices which had access, and they could just dock those whenever they went, but they didn't need them with them because they had the little badge. The badge was everything. That was their connection to everything.
Right.
So, you know, you've got those kind of fascinating parallels, and a load of stuff that happened in Star Trek has already happened. You know, I haven't quite got to teleportation yet.
Yeah.
Replication? I don't know, you've got 3D printers now. They're the next iteration of how do you replicate something. So we're getting towards that as well. So, yeah, I could see that's the way it would go. But the problem we're going to face is we've got so much data. I mean, more data than you can ever imagine.
Yeah.
Not enough of that's turned into information, and even smaller amounts of that is actually used as intelligence. And it's the intelligence bit that we need. We need more of that stuff.
Interesting. I always teach that Google, you know, what's Google's main thing, and from a business perspective, it's to sell. They make, you know, billions, hundreds of billions on ads. But so they use the organic side of things to provide the best search results, so people keep coming back and using it, and then they can keep charging for those ads. And so over time, things are, they tell websites to be user-friendly, but actually Google's probably becoming less user-friendly because there's more ads, there's, AI overviews, potentially you can see that's a good thing for the user. And with all these changes that they make, it puts people off a little bit, like you say. And so a lot of the reasons why people are using AI for search is that it gives them a clear answer, like you say, and there's no ads. And that is a real game changer for the industry. And like you say, we don't want hundreds of ads or different options for answers. We just want the answer.
Yeah, absolutely. You're asking a question, you just want the answer. But
then how do you monetize that?
Well, exactly. And there's a generational aspect to this as well. So if you ask my 19-year-old or any of his friends, where do you go for your information? The answer's TikTok.
Yeah.
They search TikTok.
I just find bizarre, but that's just, I'm a dinosaur in this way.
So he gave me a practical example, and it's included in here. And the practical example was how to improve gut health. If you search that on Google, you're faced with adverts, followed by a load of medical websites, and it's all the authority ones. So, the Mayo Clinic, your NHS, etc., etc. You go down the first page of Google, there's nothing that tells you how to improve your gut health. It's all the approved sources. So it's like school teacher says, these are the ones you should be reading, right? Goes on to TikTok, it shows him videos, short videos about how to improve your gut health. And he can decide from that which ones he wants to look at based on the number of people who've liked and recommended it and the number of people who've watched it. So he goes, well, that seems a popular one, let's watch that. Oh, right, that's good. And then he's off down a rabbit hole and he'll watch more videos. And at the end of it, he'll back out of it. Now, he won't necessarily have made a purchase decision, but he'll certainly have a better idea about the topic, more so than if he clicked on every link on page one of Google. So for him and his generation, they're looking at it and saying, that's something my mum and dad use. Which is true.
It's a good example.
It's a perfect example, And we shouldn't forget that these guys, they've got their own ways of doing things, and we forget that at our peril. So, will search engines continue to exist? There needs to be some form of database, I think, for human knowledge, yes. In the format that is now, I doubt it. It will change. And how we access information and knowledge will also change. So, I think it's going to be an interesting few years to come.
So you've been in the business a long time, managed a lot of people, seen the business grow, been through certain challenges along the way, I'm sure. What advice would you have to anyone who's looking to get into digital marketing or start a digital agency?
Okay, don't, obviously.
Don't do it. Do not do this.
Don't do it. It's incredibly rewarding work. Incredibly rewarding. You can help people, and that's the reason I set this up. I actually enjoy helping people, and if I can help anybody along the way, I will do it. Very often free of charge, because that's just the nature of what I do. Advice for people starting out today: if you're going to start your own digital marketing agency, you need to be clear about what it is that you're offering as a service. Be really crystal clear. Who are your customers? If you can't write down who your ideal customer is, you haven't thought hard enough about it, because you need to have a clear audience. You can't just say, oh, well, anybody with a website, because that won't work. It's too scattergun. No one's going to appreciate you. You've got to be really good in certain areas. There's certain areas we won't touch. We absolutely make it clear there's some areas of business, no, we're not the right agency for you. Other areas will go, this is right up our street, and we've worked in your industry before, and we have industry deep knowledge, so we can share that with you, and we can help make a difference to your business and your website. So be crystal clear about what you're doing. What's your cash flow? If you've not done a cash flow forecast before, get an accountant or someone who's a bookkeeper to show you how to do it. Your cash flow is the thing that will kill you, or it'll make you rich. But cash flow is critical. Your P&L might look fancy, but it's your cash flow that's the important piece.
Yeah.
Really, really important. And learn how to read a balance sheet, because that will determine whether you've got a business with any value or not.
Yeah.
Oh, and read. Read. Never stop learning. Never, never, never stop learning.
Yeah.
There's some great books that you could read that will put you right on your way. So John Warrillow's Built to Sell
Okay.
is a brilliant book. If you're thinking of building an agency, just read that. That's a stunning, stunning book. Simple, easy read. You can do it in less than a day. But that is so, so good. Never stop learning, because this environment doesn't stop. And always remember that in the end of the day, it's a human being that's going to put their hand in their pocket and part with money. So whatever you're doing has to appeal to a human being.
Yeah.
Machines are just a way to get there.
And away from that, when you're growing a business and dealing with people every day, whether it's clients or staff, what soft skills do you think would be good to work on?
Soft skills.
Yeah.
Lord.
I use the thing of learn how to give feedback well, and
Yeah.
be able to tell a story and communicate about what's happening and things like that.
The two biggest strengths, I think, would be listening, active listening. Learn how to actively listen, and presentation skills.
Yeah.
Because if you can actively listen and then present, you've got everything you need.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, it's been really interesting having you on, and having a bit of an insight into you and how your thoughts on the industry and
It's a crazy game. I've been in advertising and marketing for 40 years, all told, and I've seen lots of changes.
Yeah.
I've seen people come, people go. In our particular industry, SEO, most firms don't make it past 2 years.
Yeah.
Few make it past 5. Rarely do you see anyone past 10. So I know we're in that rare bracket. The other thing is people always try and chase turnover, which we did. We got through the £1 million barrier, went north of that, 1.5 mil. It's not the be all and end all. You know, having been at those dizzy heights, it's not the thing that's important.
Yeah.
Important thing is, are you making any money out of it? Because you're in business to make money, so you have to do that. I think it's a great industry to be in. There will always be a need of helping people and businesses connect with each other. How they do that, which platforms they do that on, what mediums they choose, what mechanisms are in place, those will change over time. Technology demands that. But at the end of the day, it's still somebody trying to sell something and somebody needing to buy something.
Yeah.
How can you put them together so that they're both satisfied with the transaction?
Right.
That's it.
Perfect way to finish the podcast. Thanks so much for coming on. It's very hard to get other agency owners to come on, so I really appreciate it.
Honestly, I don't know why, because it's an absolute pleasure, James. It's dead easy to talk to you. And other agency owners shouldn't be afraid of doing this. I was at a networking event last week, and the first thing I did was, there's another web agency, I went over and talked to them. Why? Because I need to know people in my industry.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you? Go and talk to them. You never know what you're going to learn from talking to them and listening to what they've got to say. Listening
Which is
to
what we did, yeah.
yeah. First thing we did in the room was, you're from Manchester SEO. Brilliant. I'm from Aqueous Digital.
Yeah.
We should talk. And that was exactly how it started, right?
It was, yeah.
Why? Why would we do that instead of edging around the room? Oh, I've got a rival over there. Exactly. How stupid is that?
Yeah.
You never know how we might be able to help each other. We never know. And today, here we are. We're on a podcast, and hopefully this will help you guys. It might help us as well, which is great. But any other agency owner should just come on it and do this, because it's great.
Yeah. Fantastic. Right. Blended.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
We could talk all day, couldn't we?
Well, yeah, and we probably have. I was, oh, Christ.